70% of people who have been detained haven't been convicted of anything. It seems like Stephen Miller is back in charge. And I think that that's a bad thing for the country. And I think that the images of the masked agents, pulling a candidate for mayor and our comptroller aside.
I want to jump into a Fox News The Five segment about Democrats pushing back amid these horrendous, unconstitutional, illegal ICE raids, the deportations, all of it. So if you can, as always, first leave us a like on the video. It gives us a big boost in the algorithm. It lets us know you enjoy the content. And we'll be right back with the context that is very much needed.
Other recent polls where he was -6 and -11 on immigration. In terms of the stat, about 75% have been convicted or pending charges. Those pending charges are doing a lot of work. And the reverse of it is that 70% of people who have been detained haven't been convicted of anything, which is the threshold for people getting their due process. So there are folks sitting in cells, perhaps waiting for their day in court, or if they're lucky enough to be, sent to a foreign gulag, and they haven't actually been arraigned. No one has seen them in a court of law to decide whether or not they actually committed these crimes.
Also important statistic to note here is 43% of the people detained by ICE have no criminal record. Another large chunk after that only have small traffic violations as their only record. So it has quickly switched up from protect America from these criminals to, well, let's break up families and law-abiding, often working persons, because why not? Despite it costing thousands of dollars per head to do so, hurting our GDP, hurting our tax base, and on a mass level, being detrimental to our prices and in terms of increasing them, where Trump was elected largely to do the opposite. In every facet of this administration, from wanting to wage war with Arabs for being Arab and to banning countries with predominantly brown populations from migrating here while allowing all the European countries to do so, going out of your way to expedite white refugees, to wanting to deport foreigners for being foreigners, is just the racism is seeping through horrendously.
What's going on with Brad Lander, who was accompanying a migrant to his immigration hearing, and he's done this a few times, is broadly speaking where the American people are, which is that if somebody is going about this the right way, if they've been in this country and they have not committed a crime, not been convicted of something, that they should be able to stay here or at least to get their due process. And I think that the images of the masked agents, pulling a candidate for mayor and our comptroller aside are going to be very resonant with folks.
And make no mistake here, Brad Lander is just the latest Democrat, right? Where he's a New York City official and a mayoral candidate, but he's just the latest to be arrested and physically accosted by the Trump administration or just detained. Some of them are just detained, but physically harassed by federal agents for seemingly no crime other than not bending the knee and kissing their feet, where it's becoming increasingly harder for me to take any MAGA serious who still is trying to claim, or not even still trying to claim, doing anything, but absolutely trying to apologize for ever holding the position of political persecution from Democrats onto Republicans, as we are now clearly being shown in real time what it actually looks like as Democrat after Democrat is detained, arrested, having investigations launched into them at the Trump administration's direction. But of course, we're supposed to believe that each and every one of these are justified and deserved, just like all the ones that came in Trump's first term were. But of course, Trump's, right? The one that was proven actually in the court of law unanimously, well, that one, of course, is a sham.
Donald Trump's policy on immigration seemed like it was changing a couple days ago. Remember when he posted, he said, oh, if people work in agriculture, they shouldn't get picked up. And if people work at hotels, et cetera, like he used to employ a lot of people at his properties. And it seems like Stephen Miller is back in charge. And I think that that's a bad thing for the country. And I think it's a bad thing for the president's immigration policy because that flies in the face of where public opinion is. I don't know why Trump has completely ceded control to Miller in terms of this, but it's not a good look and it's not going to float well with the governors that run states that have a lot of these people that keep them in business, big agriculture states, big states with, hotels, leisure, et cetera.
And the battle, or the conversation, I should say, is a legitimate one to be had in terms of what rights should lay with the states, what rights should lay federally, as these sanctuary states, of course, are trying to enact the laws as they see set, not as Trump's Gestapo do, where, to be clear, most immigration powers do lie federally in the executive, unfortunately. Trump would almost definitely just be reaffirmed the authority if it went to the courts. But what's interesting for me is how the argument switches for MAGA in terms of convenience, which isn't surprising for anyone who's been around the channel. We point this out daily. But here it's interesting because when they want to control women and restrict their health care, states' rights is the highest authority and it can't be overstepped, even though we can see through data that this directly leads to more people dying and dying just based off where they live. And the exact same can be said with gun control, right? And gun control also affects neighboring states. We know the Iron Pipeline is a real thing. But now when it comes to like ridding of brown folk, well, Trump should be king and no state should have any authority. And it just shows where these people's priorities really are, which isn't something to look over, right? It's not something to forget. It's also very economically illiterate, like this whole conversation of mass deportation. And it's a fantasy. It's just impractical and will never happen. And it keeps us from solving the issue to just talking about it every election year. Mass amnesty will always be the superior solution. And it's like the inevitable one. It's just about when it's going to happen.